This week in Hey the Parents, we're talking all about showing your kids how to say thank you and be appreciative when it comes time for gift giving, gestures, and everything in between. So grab those stacks of blank cards, envelopes, and your favorite pen, because Hey the Parents is an honest discussion about raising kids. I'm Michael Height.
I'm Sara D.
And I'm Mike Levine.
Kids don't come with a handbook, so we need your help.
Where do babies come from?
Where do you think they come from?
Is this a kissing book?
Mama! Mama!
What?
Hi.
I learned it by watching you.
There are no rules in this house. I'm not like a regular mom. I'm a cool mom.
We sent them to the best boarding schools. We hired the best nannies. We did everything right.
Hey, Mom! The meatloaf!
No drinking, no drugs, no kissing, no tattoos, no piercings, no ritual animal slaughters of any kind.
Together, we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
This is Hey Other Parents, an honest, messy, imperfect show for raising kids.
Hey, welcome back.
Hey.
It's us again. Hey,
Hello.
hey. Toodly-doo?
Toodaloo, toodly-doo.
Toodly-doo. It's changing every time. Good morning, Sara D.
Oh, good morning, Michael Height. How are you doing?
We're surviving. We've got whatever sick germs and things that the kids have brought home. They just seem to be spreading it to everyone's household, and who even knows? But Sara D and I we're fighting off coughs and colds and things like that. So her from her house, me from my house, and we're making this work, right?
Yes. We're managing here.
We're managing, and that's okay, because if we get our colds and coughs now, then when it comes time for the holidays, we'll be good to go in our healthy selves.
Yes.
Welcome back. We're so glad that you came to hang out with us as we figure out this parenting thing. Whether you're in the car, folding laundry, cooking dinner, getting organized, driving your kids to the doctor's office, or on the go, we know that you have a lot of choices out there for podcasts, so thank you for listening to ours. We'd like to send a big welcome to the new moms and dads listening, and a big hearty hello again to the returning listeners who are back to put up with us for yet another episode. So if this is your first time joining us in this podcast, Hey the Parents, it is a chance for a few of us parents who decided that we need to join our efforts together to try to get through this, as we call it, a survival course. We pick a different theme, a different topic each week, and then we discuss it from the standpoint of when we were younger, what we grew up with our own parents, and then we shift on over to now as adults, where we certainly did not get a handbook for our kids. We talk about what we go through, we share some of our experiences, and we learn from each other, and every week we feel a little bit better because we have each other and we have all of you. So if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, we will tell you later in the show and how you can get in touch with us here. But without further ado, we're going to jump into the main part of the podcast, and that entails the topic of this week. So Sara D, what do we got going on today?
All right. So today we're going to talk about helping our children to say thank yous, to show appreciation and gratitude for times they receive presents and maybe some awkward moments in between that, all that.
So we think this is kind of like a good topic because, like, we obviously there's some holidays coming up. We're going to try to tie it all in to this episode. So I think we're going to have a little bit of a fun discussion. And I know Sara D's got some great ideas. So I'm going to learn some stuff and I'm going to look like the hero this year. So here we go. So I guess this really comes down to maybe like a little bit of kind of what you grew up with. And I know like kind of like when I was growing up, my mom was very insistent on this like the saying of like, you do things because it's the right thing to do. And I think that like that has just sort of like engulfed my brain over the years. And I think like that's kind of like the right mentality for this episode, just like doing the right thing. And like for us growing up, when my grandparents moved to Florida, or like, you know, my grandmother's in Queens, we would, it was very important that like if a card came in the mail, even if there was a card with no check in it was just a card, that you would call up and you would say thank you. And that was important. And it was like not even something that was a conversation piece. It was just like phone, hand it over, say thank you. And that was kind of how things went. Did you feel like you grew up kind of with a similar mentality?
Yeah, I definitely did. You know, like we always said thank you for, I can remember my godmother sending me a envelope. And as I got older, it was still $5. And I was like, thanks.
Exactly.
You know, so like you always had to say thank you. And exactly, it was a lot of times like passing the phone and you had to just be ready to like say thank you and have a conversation. You know, these kids now, they got a little more buffer time in between.
Yeah, because I feel like that phone wire would come off the wall and like you'd see it coming at you. Like that was hard to like dodge.
Yes. You know, and like no texting and stuff like that. So, you know, you had to be ready. And, you know, like also too, like a big thing was like, we always said thank you for like small things. Like if we went to a store with my dad, he got us like a lollipop or something. We'd be like, oh, thanks, Daddy, you know? And that's something like I think we try to carry over in our kids' lives as well, you know, now. Because I think this goes a long way, you know, like a little thank you, a smile, you know, when someone holds the door for you, you know, saying thanks, you know, is always appreciated.
I think it's also like one of those things where like maybe, you know, like I know like all of a sudden it comes like almost like automatic response type stuff, but it's important, I think, that they adapt to saying thank you when things don't go their way and you're still being treated to something. Like sometimes we'll have like, you know, that it's, I mean, it does sound a little bit like, you know, a little spoiled kind of mentality, but like when we're trying to decide what we want to do for takeout, you know, 5 people, or we, for example, we had friends over last night and we were all deciding on like what we wanted to eat. And like, you know, it was like Taco Bell or pizza or, you know, Fat Boy Burrito, those of you in the up Northeast, dude. But we were trying to figure out like what we want to eat. And it was like this idea of like, maybe we aren't going to go to the place that you really want, you know? But like at the end of the day, you know, you might have like a little frustrating moment, but like that's important to still be appreciative, because it's not like the food wasn't, you know, provided in a different way just because it wasn't a place you wanted to go to, you know?
Yes, no, absolutely. I think, you know, I mean, obviously Taco Bell was the right answer in that list.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, double stack, yeah.
But, you know, like, yes, exactly. I think that's like the biggest thing is that, like, yes, maybe the trip didn't go as planned, or maybe you didn't get to do something you really want to, like ride the pony like 3 more times, but like to still say thank you for whatever it is, you know?
Yeah. So like when also like, did you guys, did your parents make you write like handwritten notes? Like, did you guys have like, there was that thing? Yeah. So we did that too. Like, and I think like part of it was my grandparents would always send, like my grandmother, my nana, she would send for flowers. She'd send like a, you know, like a handwritten note, like, you know, on lines with her fancy handwriting, or, you know, folded up and stuff. And it was like, I think part of that is like, however, whatever version of that looked like, I think it was like, it kind of like got me into the mentality of like, when you, well, okay, if you're going to go through the effort of going to the store and buying a card, you know, those cards are not cheap. So like, let's just talk about that for a second. So you buy a card, or make a card, like, if you're just going to write like thanks and then your name and let the card do all the talking, I don't believe in that. Like, I feel like you should like take 5.5 seconds of your life and like just write something to that person that means something, like actually write a couple sentences and like say why you appreciate them, or like get into how you're going to, so maybe, let's talk about this. So talk about like maybe writing cards, right? So this is something that I think that, you know, is probably a big part of the episode. And growing up and kind of like writing cards and stuff, it was kind of the idea that like, you know, writing something to someone, you at first you wouldn't know what to say. And I think like your parents play an instrumental part in like helping you figure out what are those things that go on paper, or the sentence structure, or like whatever. And I think a big thing is like modeling that for them at first. And one of the things that I think is super important is, if it's a gift, explaining to in your thank you note how you're going to use the gift, or like why it's special to you, or like how you're going to use it. Because I think that when someone buys you a gift, I think sometimes they put a lot of thought into it, and maybe it's not always right, but like maybe, you know, it's nice for them to feel that you are going to use it and appreciate it in some way. And maybe that'll make them feel warm and fuzzy, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's like thank you cards 101, because, you know, like it is hard to say like, thanks, love you, bye, you know, like, so, you know, I think I did that with Sophia, you know, and Julian. Like, I tried to definitely like say like, hey, you know, you write a card, you say thank you for that, or send a text message like, thank you so much for but be specific, you know, don't just say like, thanks for the present, like, like, show that you actually opened up the present, you looked at it a little bit, you know,
shook it around, threw it in the
check it out. You know, it kind of reminded me of when Sophia was a baby, and I would get all these fancy dresses and outfits for her, but there was just so many that Jean's stepmom actually gave me the idea. Where she would just dress up the baby in all the outfits and then send pictures to whomever. And I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. So I remember one day, like one weekend, just like dressing Sophia in and out of these outfits and like, you know, like take a picture, like, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You know,
she's like, how many more?
I know. She was like 6 months old, probably. She's like, what the heck's going on here? But, you know, I wanted to make sure that not necessarily like I was lying or not using the outfits, but I wanted to make sure that, because, you know, like you get busy, your phone's dead, you know, you don't, oh, that's right, so-and-so got the present. So at least it's like, okay, I got the present. Here she is in it. She may or may not be wearing it for this special occasion, but she's wearing it for now. And, you know, like, thank you. And when she wears it, you know, they feel good about it, you know, and like there she is.
You know, it's funny because I was as I was thinking, memory unlocked. No, as we were doing this, I think the thing that it's interesting is that I think when we were planning this episode, one of the things that I think you made me think of, like, you know, in the process of, like, you know, losing track of like when you say thank you and stuff, is this idea that the thank you note is the response to the gift. But like when you give someone the card that goes with the gift, I think that maybe that's what I was really more thinking about. Like, that's an opportunity to really tell the person, in addition to giving them a physical or tangible or gift card or whatever, like, it's a chance for you to like tell them how you value them and like how that person means something to you, or like a memory, or why their relationship is special. And I think in that thank you card, or I'm sorry, in the card that goes with the gift, when you're giving a gift to someone, I think that's another good chance to show appreciation, because you're not just like, here's a gift, got it from Target, have a good day. You know, it's kind of like, you know, I picked this gift out because I know you're really into this thing, and I'm really happy that you invited me to your party. I can't wait to celebrate your birthday. Like, that's nice, you know?
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I think we are big card people in this house. So Gene, you know, he really, I have to say, like, you know, like I'll be like, oh, 1 2 cents is nice, you know, especially when they're little. But Gene like loves a paragraph. He loves like a little like, why? Why
I love you, Gene. I get you, man.
No, but he's not wrong in that. Like, you know, like instead of just saying, hey, love you so much, you're the best dad in the world, bye. You know, like, it's nice to say, like, you know, like, thanks for the things that you do for me, or thanks for being a friend, thank you for, you know, playing with me and stuff like that. You know, and like that's something like I want our kids to do, you know, and not be forced to do it. You know, so I'm hoping eventually they learn to do that on their own. You know, because it takes time. Like, you know, Sophia always kind of argues that, like, oh, it feels awkward. Like, I don't know what else more to write. And I'm like, well, think about all the things that you want to say. And then meanwhile, Julian would write like a whole like novel, like a novella. And you're like, oh man,
5 papers long.
Yeah. So, you know, like, it's in between, like, trying to help, you know, it's not that she's unappreciative, and that's why she would get frustrated when we would share. I would get like one card from both of them for dad or for myself. Yeah. and Julian would be writing, like, you know, like taking up the whole card. And she's like, well, he took the whole card, so I can't say anything else. I'm like,
that's so funny.
You can still say something. So
you're
now
like, don't worry, you each will make your own card.
Yes, now I do their own cards because, you know, one of us is more wordy than the other. So
I think it's funny because, like, and I don't think we've gotten like, I don't know. It's weird. I don't think we've gotten to like cheap about it, because like, in a sense, like, there's obviously like, you could go get those like shoebox cards that aren't expensive or whatever, or like Trader Joe's cards when we go shopping. But like, I think like making your own card, if it's kind of nice and stuff, is kind of cool. Like, the kids kind of enjoy making them. So like, sometimes it's just like, you know, you don't need to throw $6 on a card. You kids can make a gift, and you're like, why don't I put $5 more towards their gift? It's like a nicer gift, you know?
Right. I love a homemade card.
Me too. And it means so much more when it's like, and also like when the kid writes it and it's like, you know, not digital. Yes. It's like just nice to be like, oh, they spelled it wrong. Who cares?
Thanks,
you know?
Thanks, kid. I love it.
And it's funny too, like, as a, you know, in a long-term relationship, like when you are celebrating something like Mother's Day or a Father's Day, or any sort of day that like revolves around the person that is usually like, well, I guess those are really the main days, but I guess like if your kids, it's like one of those holidays is really for the kids to write to their parents, but like, even like from spouse to spouse or whatever, like, or partner to partner, you could be like, this is why I think you're awesome, and I appreciate you for being a great mom or a great dad or whatever. And I think that's kind of nice to get that feeling also, not just like, oh, Mother's Day is from the kids, peace, see ya, you know, like, or whatever. Right. You know, it's kind of that chance for you to do that as well.
Yes, no, I agree with that.
So some of the things that I think we kind of like maybe we're thinking is that there are like different age appropriate ways to maybe like teach how to teach gratitude. And I think like starting small, like, you know, obviously like Sara had mentioned with the cards, like you can't expect like, the 4 or 5 year old to like go nuts, but they could do a drawing. And like Ethan did this thing when he was younger, where every card he would make, he would have a picture of him and said person holding hands in the picture, and it was so cute because every time cute. It was like the same thing, and it was very, very funny to see the same card over and over again. But I mean, it was his idea. He made it different every time, but it was very cute.
But if it works, why change it up? I like it, Ethan.
It's time to draw the people holding hands again. It's time. It was very cute. He was into it. And then Jacob would always try to like make these cool like fold out cards that would have like some sort of like pop up or a little interaction or something that was different about it. So like they each kind of came up with their own thing, and then Ethan would find a way to like to get into like whatever thing you do together, or like a movie or a TV show. And Jacob would always try to like make some sort of plans for like what to do next. So it's cool. They think about ways to do things together, which is kind of nice. So these kind of their own style and their own cards that they make. But I think like one of the things that we do is I think that we've kind of like hit upon with each other. And I think sometimes we obviously feel very guilty about things because sometimes they don't go as planned. But you have to like sort of like model things for your kids. And like I think, Sarah, you pointed it out about like how to show things in small ways. And like really everyday interactions, because if you're not demonstrating that in your everyday self, then there's no way that your kids are going to pick up on it.
Exactly. Like, like even like silly things, like, well, not silly, but if Jean or I do something for each other and I think so unconscious. I think we're both raised pretty much the same way, but it's like, oh, thanks for the sushi. Like he went to go get it. He grabbed it for us, whatever. And it's just, again, like modeling that behavior. I think it makes like a big difference. Or if someone holds the door for you, like I like to kind of give the person some eye contact, like, thank you very much, oh, thanks, or, oh no, I got it, but thank you, but just to show the cashiers, people that we're coming in contact to as well, when they do something small, let you confront because you have 2 things versus their 20 things, you have to say thank you. And I think, I think both kids are learning to do that. I hope from us modeling that way, certainly when we're out and about with strangers, even.
I think that's something that like, I don't know what happened. Like, I think like when we go to Trader Joe's, I mentioned this to you, I think like we go in there and like, it's just become easier for us as a family. Like it's wider, it's bigger. It's just buying what we need to get and get out. I don't know. But we go and I think the people, I don't know, they're just so happy to be there. The people that work in there are so nice. And like, I don't know, maybe, if it's true, that's amazing because I dig it. But I try to like, there's 2 things that we try to do, and especially when I'm with the kids, but I do it anyway by myself, is, like if you're asking someone a question or like you're reaching over for like fruit and people are stacking stuff, just say thank you. Say good morning. It's not nice, not a thing. Or compliment the way they kind of set things up. Looks pretty good. And then like I always, whenever we get like a cashier who's friendly in some way or like helps, bag things or whatever else, I always like go to the little desky thing where the managers are, and I tell them that like, hey, cashier, like whatever, like Larry on Jones Beach, cashier. Right. He's awesome. He just helped me so much. He's so nice. So I tell them that, and like they probably think I'm a maniac, but I always tell them that, and I think like that idea of like when someone finds out that you complimented them through another person, I think that's really powerful. I think it also like, I don't know if it really impacts how they get, raises and stuff, whatever else, but like, I think it can't hurt to say thank you or how someone's really nice in the store. And I think that's good. They can see you do that. Jacob is like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, you know what?
He's like, let's just go.
When you're a little older, you'll feel a little less awkward at this, but that's what I do, and I think it's nice.
Or what I do find sometimes myself is doing as well is like talking about the nice interaction as well. Like as we're walking to the, like in the car or on our way back to like, let's say, someone turn to like food shopping, but like whatever our interactions are, whether we're in the car, we're walking along and like, oh, that was so nice of that person, like, oh, like they're so busy and look, like he or she was so like cheerful or helpful, or that person was really nice. That was a kind gesture. Or sometimes when we see like an injustice, maybe someone being mistreated, perhaps, and I'm talking about like just like a grouchy interaction with someone and they're handling it very nicely. I'm not talking about like those bigger mistreatments. We'll say like, oh, like we'll kind of like either like acknowledge like, oh, like don't let that person bother you. And then like in the car again, be like, oh, that poor person, like they're working and that's someone's mom or sister or brother, and like, I think just kind of talking about like, hey, everyone's working, everyone's doing stuff. Like there's no need to be unkind to someone that you don't even know, and I think that's what, like I want to humanize the fact that yes, like sometimes, cashiers are just seen as this thing, not even a person. So like just trying to show, right. Like just trying to show appreciation, like for everyone who is contributing to society. And if there's being like treated rudely, to say like, hey, that's not nice. And to point out sometimes bad behavior, I feel like helps the kids realize that they can make a difference and do the opposite of that.
Maybe we could switch topics for a second. I kind of like what you kind of had mentioned about that. One of the things that I think that would be like we find, and I don't know really like how you deal with it, but like I guess you really can't control the world, right? All you can do is kind of teach your own kids. But one of the things that I think is important is that when, like when we're cooking a meal or even whatever, just any sort of dinner or like whatever, what we'll do is we'll give the kids like some fruit before they eat, just to kind of cram in a couple more fruit servings before the day. And then we don't care, like they could eat that's fine. But like when it comes time to the actual meal itself, I always try to make it so that we don't eat until everyone's at the table, which is like kind of nice, because especially too if you're eating out too and the same thing happens, like it's a little like, I don't know, it's nice to like wait till all the food hits the table before you eat. And if someone's waiting, at least like if they're saying it's going to be a while and you're waiting and now it's awkward and they say go ahead, at least check in with that person and be like, no, it's okay, we'll wait. And they're like, no, they go ahead, you eat. And you're like, are you sure? Okay, fine, okay, we'll wait. But acknowledge, have the interaction, And I think that makes people feel comfortable. But this is more in terms of like the appreciation aspect. I think like showing that and teaching that and not just like jumping and shoving things in your face is nice to, show how the importance of the dinner and being together.
Yes, agreed with that.
Agreed. Not only are you modeling it, but I think it improves your relationship with your spouse too. Just telling them that you appreciate them, but you're also showing the kids like you don't start chowing down before everyone sits down. One of the things that I think we also think about too is how like cards don't necessarily fit you don't have to always just give a card, right? Sometimes like being appreciative could be done in other ways. And, I think like we don't need 20% of Hey the Parents to be me talking about bread. So, but I do my little, I do my little bread thing. And I do that because I think it's like, how many times have people say pay it forward and stuff like that? We know that there's a process to it until the one person doesn't do it. And then you're like, seriously? But the, the Starbucks line and all that stuff. But I think it's nice to, from the standpoint of like changing things up and not making it always a card, it's just like an act of kindness. Like it could be like making food for somebody or making a baked good or even like someone from work, something had gone where, a promotion didn't work out. I was going for a different job and they were super nice. And they gave me like a magnet with like a funny line on it that related to like, kind of like dusting off, dusting your, what's this saying? Like dusting your pants off, I don't know, getting back out there. And it was like the idea of like, that's pretty cool. Normally I'm not one for like hanging magnets on things and being like, that's motivational, but it was like really nice. And I looked at it and I'm like, this actually has more meaning than anything. And I thought it was like very cool. So like maybe this idea of like, it doesn't have to always be, hand the card to the person,
Right. Yeah, like you don't always have to have like a formal handwritten note, and like there certainly are appreciated, But I think you could just like a thank you, a hug, a hand five, an air five,
a hug five. We're into new things.
a hug five. I like those hug fives. What was it? Like the little hand hugs, like
I like it.
Yeah,
Like I see that a lot more now, which is odd. Are you seeing that more now? I feel like I am.
Yes, but like a nice little or like a little like gift card, like a little $5 to here, get yourself some coffee, enjoy. Something like that. It's always kind of nice,
I like that. And kind of like sometimes it's even fun to have like a tongue in cheek kind of thing of like, like I kind of mentioned like a while ago when we were talking about like gift giving and stuff. My sister and I would do this thing where every time it was someone's birthday, like I think we just did it because it was so stupid at this point, but like we would send each other an Amazon gift card and I think we wouldn't spend it. And then you'd send the same Amazon gift card back to the person. Like, it would just be the same money going back and forth. And I think it was just ridiculous after a while. Because, like, it's like one of those things. It's like, what are you doing? But, I mean, that's just something like, whatever it is. And I think that's something that also is kind of nice to do is I think that in relationships with people, I think, like, I mean, I don't know if this is necessarily like an introvert extrovert thing or just like people's anxiety or whatever else it is. We had mentioned this like in last season, we were talking about siblings and stuff. And one of the things that we had talked about is sometimes like when one person is more willing to pick up the phone than the other person. and that's fine. And maybe it's like about their schedules or their personality or whatever it is. But like just the way that like my sister and I's relationship has really kind of been awesome since we've gotten older. Like when we were young, we used to like kill each other. But now that we got older, like I call her once a week, and then we talk every Monday, and it's always nice. And we kind of like, we have that little sisterly, brotherly hangout sesh. And, you know, we really do appreciate each other. And it gives us kind of like strength as a family to kind of have those little moments where we get to like, you know, have the therapy sesh. And get, maybe hypothetically, not real. Maybe your parents are bothering you a little bit. You got to get it out there, you know? But like, that's nice too. Cause I think like, you know, you have to, you give that time, and time is also showing appreciation, I think, as well.
I think so too. I think time is probably the biggest thing, you know, if you can give undivided attention to someone, and
put your phone down.
Yes, that's a nice way to say thank you.
And what about maybe we could talk about the idea that at some point your child is bound to get a gift that they already got from somebody. So the double down, the double gift. How, Sarah D, how do we deal with such situations?
Because we've gotten that before, you know, like you spread the net, you cast the net wide, and you say, hey, Sophia's really into something, and then you get like a double gift. So sometimes, like, you know, what I've learned, because I think we had it happen one time where they're like, I got this already. And I was like, Right. So from that little thing, we learned that, you know, we say, thank you very much. And either, you know, we'll return it, or sometimes doubles aren't so bad because all of a sudden they can become twins, you know? So we learned they're twin Lala Loopsies or whatever they were at that time. But, you know, I think it's teaching them what to say when it's something they got already, no longer into, or like the ugly sweater that's not supposed to be tongue in cheek. That's literally, you know, something they're not into. You know, I think that happened to Julian recently. You know, he got a present, and it was a fine outfit, but you know, it wasn't like something he would want to wear, or like, you know, like it wasn't bad. It wasn't his style per se, but he wore it because he was like, I'm gonna wear this because so and so gave this to me, and I want them to know that I like it. And I was like, good.
Sweet,
you know?
Good boy.
So he wore it for like the next like, family event or whatever, and the person was very happy to see him in it. You know, so it's just, again, like, it just 5 seconds of your life, you know, like it's really one day or 2 seconds of wearing something or using something that maybe you didn't really like or expect. And, you know, just again, the person went out of the way to think of you, you know?
And I think, like, you know, because we know that this happens on both sides, I think it's like, just get the gift receipt. Just put the gift receipt on the present. It won't kill you. It's one more click. It's one more request. Just print it out, slap it on. This way, when that person is super kind and they get the gift for the third time, you don't have to know. They just go and they get something else that they like, and they don't get the rarely rotten sales price that they put out there. Instead, they actually get the credit that you paid for, which is nice. So we appreciate that. I'm sure other people appreciate that. Always a good thing. And I like how you mentioned, like, not just the double, but the like the ones you don't want, and that's okay. People's tastes change, right? That is okay.
Yeah.
So maybe we could talk also about, like, I guess, like, maybe if it's like a birthday party or something like that, sometimes like you get gifts and then like you won't open them until like maybe the next day or the afternoon or whatever it is, but it's not usually at the party. So maybe like we could talk a little bit about this idea of like maybe like a gift in person, or like getting a gift from a family member, or like, you know, obviously Hanukkah, the way that we do it is typically like we'll have whatever like the weekend night is, like usually like, you know, if it's like a Thursday or a Tuesday, it's like, this is family night, we'll do something easy, we'll get through the night and then we're going to school the next day. But it's like a weekend, we kind of make it a little bit more special. And that's like where like we'll have like my parents over, my wife's parents over, my sister-in-law and her family and all them, but like we'll try to do something like that. And I think like one of the things that we've tried to help them figure out, because they don't know what to do with it, is like when you're given some gifts, like how do you say thank you? And like one of the things that I think we try to encourage is obviously making eye contact, walking over to the person, not just like sitting down, get up and walk over to the person, give them a hug or say thank you, and make it a point for them to audibly hear you say thank you.
Yes.
And you know, and I think that's important.
Audibly to say thank you. That's always a good one too.
What a weird thing, right? But I think too, another thing that I realized too, and I don't know if this is like, maybe it's just because like the way that we do things, with our family, and I think every family is different, so I shouldn't judge because I really don't know the circumstances, and I'm sure like Christmas and Hanukkah are obviously around the same time, but they're very different holidays. And like, you know, with Christmas, it seems like you get like a lot of gifts all bam, like right at once. So it's probably a little overwhelming. But like with Hanukkah, like I guess I kind of could relate to that when we have a lot of family over, because then there's like, you know, some piles and stuff for everyone. And I think it's like really nice. I don't love always like if it works with your kids and they're a little bit older, I think it's like nice to not just open every gift everybody at the same time. I think it's nice to like take turns and like open the gift and see the surprise and like, you know, see that reaction, get a picture of them and like take turns, be like, okay, you're next, you open your gift, or like hand over the present to the person. I think it's like a fun part of the night, and maybe it takes a little bit longer, maybe it requires a little more restraint, but like obviously once they get some gifts, especially that involve like unwrapping and putting batteries in and things like that, like you're gonna start losing everybody. So it's kind of nice to like have a few moments where like you're exchanging and you're taking the time to open the presents and stuff one by one. I like that. I don't know, that's kind of how I like to do things.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like, we do for Christmas, we like to open the presents all together. And, you know, when they're little, like they used to tear through things very quickly.
Yeah, because so it's just their age. And that's how it goes. Yeah.
Yes, and they're excited. But then we learned to like slow them down a little bit, kind of like you said, and like I say, okay, like, and maybe not like so organized, but like at least in the fact that like, okay, Julian, here you go. This is from mom and dad, or this is from Sonisha, you know, like, and this is from the dogs, you know, like, so at least like, you know, they can like, you know, like slowly open it and be like, okay, thank you. Then we move on, because when it was just Sophia, it was cool. Cause like, you know, it was a Sophia show, tear away kid. But then when it became 2, and then Julian was like just opening up everyone's presents.
Right.
We had to find a better way.
Mayhem.
Which it morphed into us being like, okay, here, you know, like, here's Sophia, this is your present, this is from, you know, or this is from, or like them giving a present like they got for us from them, you know, instead of just like a big mess of wrapping paper and stuff like that, you know, and like either way is fine. You like how you're doing it, I'm doing it, and if your method is to tear through all of it, go ahead, you know, like, but you know, but I agree with you. Like, I think there is something nice though about like taking a second to realize who got you the present, you know, and then for us at Christmas
not
time,
just a series of blind bags.
Yes, and then then usually Christmas, I don't know, but Hanukkah, it usually lasts like, it feels like forever, because then, you know, like, then there's like the godparents, oh, we're going to see them. Okay, that's another set of presents to open, the grandparents, you know, things like that. So like,
yeah, you know, like, do you do that like the same, is that usually the same day, or is it a little spread out, or? A little
spread out. So it might be like the week before, weekend before, you know, after, or like the family certainly is the same day, but like later on in the day, you know.
Oh, so that kind of feels kind of similar, I guess, like with that mentality. Like, it's kind of like, you know, because maybe even like if it gets too crazy, sometimes like with our kids and like all the whole family and everything else, especially as our parents have kind of gotten older for both sides, sometimes like we'll do things together with both sets of families. And then sometimes we'll do it like a little separate, and maybe like we'll have like my parents over for lunch on one day in the weekend, and then my wife's parents come over for dinner the other day in the weekend, like whatever it is. It sometimes is nice. And the thing about that, and I don't think it's ever meant to be like a bad thing. And I always feel like I always hate this, because like when you get a lot of gifts from different people and then your kids really like favor one gift over another, I hate that feeling. Yeah, because like you don't want the person that gave them the gift to feel like they just like didn't get something nice for them, because they don't seem to value it as much as the other gift they got or whatever else. So it's nice to like spread things out, just because of like the excitement level or where they are. They don't mean anything by it, but it's just like you as a parent, you're watching it and you're like, no, you know.
And it always happens to like the one relative who might be a little sensitive, and you'll, of course, like, and you're like, oh. And like the presents
you're overcompensating. You're like, this is the best. Just the best ever.
Right. Put them on now because you're so excited.
Put these on as you play with the other thing. Right. Exactly. Oh my God.
No. I think that sometimes,
you know,
we've been there. I think as parents, like, you know, you touch upon something where it's like kids are kids, you know, and they really don't mean anything. You know, like their toys super exciting, or, you know, like they love the socks, but, you know, obviously a T-Rex is more interesting to play with in this moment. But, you know, like I think sometimes we project like these, like, or we kind of know like, oh gosh, where this is heading. And I love it and I hate it at the same time. Like, where it's like, you know, it's not my kid's problem that you're slightly sensitive. No offense to anyone out there, you know, like, or that they like the whatever better. but certainly you don't want to hurt people's feelings,
Yeah.
And
This episode's called Growing Thicker Skin.
yes. So, that's all. Like sometimes it's you do find you're like, please say thank you now. And it's like,
I know
okay,
you're
in a
kind of like
second,
pushing them off the couch. Like,
no,
go.
you're like,
Yes.
say thank you, and you say it with a big smile.
No one can hear us growling, grinding our teeth to our children. One thing that I think is also kind of nice is, I think we mentioned this like a while ago with like, we got this little, I don't know if it was like a kit. Something my wife bought. It was like this little like tree thing. And then it was around Thanksgiving, and it was like, you read like why you're, what, like about things of gratitude, or like why you're grateful, or why you're thankful for things. And you'd hang these things in a little tree. And it was cool because it would be these little like handwritten notes that would be on there. So like having like a little bit of a gratitude corner or something in your house, or like whatever, like that, it's not necessary to have like a shrine of gratitude, but you can do something in your house, whatever it is. And then I guess we just mentioned this also is this idea of like unexpected acts, right? So like, leaving a note. We talked about a while ago, the Halloween episode from yesteryear, her first season. One of the things we talked about is getting booed, and that's kind of fun. It's it doesn't have to be Halloween related, but it's this idea of like running up to someone's house, leaving a gift, tapping that Ring doorbell and running away. And it's kind of fun because like obviously the parents see you, whatever else, and leaving like a little surprise or a little treat. That's nice too if someone's like sick or not feeling well, and you can leave like their favorite snacks, as long as it's okay with the doctor, whatever, right. Something like that. It's like something like that could be nice too, or like even like chalk message on sidewalk or something, I don't know, or leaving a creepy note in their car, I don't know, but there's like things that you could do to be nice, and I think like could be good for just friendships and things, sometimes even like as a spouse, or relationships, whatever. Whatever. It doesn't have to be like, someone you're dating. It could be just friends. Like sometimes, someone's going through a rough time, or you just want to like say, hey, it's Random Friends Tuesday. I don't know. Sending someone like a little $5 gift card for Dunkin' Donuts or something. Like I think like that is like, it's such an awesome thing to like to be like, hey, I got your next coffee, yo. And it's kind of nice because you just send it off and be like, here you go. But I think that's a nice way to like the little things sometimes have more impact than the bigger things, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah,
Agreed.
no, I agree with them.
Well, Sarah, I think we definitely hit on some nice variety of all things that are thank you related. But we're curious. The question of this week is, how do you try to instill showing appreciation and gratitude to your kids? We'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to answer this question, have comments or questions for the show, you can get in touch with us in one of three ways. One, you could call us and leave a message in our voicemail line at 559-537-5437 or 559-LAY-KIDS. You could email the show at heytheparents@gmail.com, or you could join us on Instagram or Blue Sky or any of those fancy services. Check the socials for that. So we're back for this part of the show. We call it Time to Unplug. This is where we talk about the things that are going on outside of the children, because sometimes you just have to have something for yourself or with your spouses. It gives us a chance to decompress, because you know what? You'll be a better we if you take care of me. So Sarah D, what do you got this week?
Okay, so this Apple TV show, happened to just stumble upon it before with Billy Crystal.
Ooh, I haven't watched this.
And Angela from Who's the Boss, the actress. It is like whoever she is.
I know, exactly. She might as well be Angela. Angela.
So good. It is so good.
Really?
I have to say. Yes, I think I have one episode left. I want more. It could have been a movie. It's just such a great premise. So Billy Crystal is a child psychologist. His wife has passed, a psychiatrist. His wife has passed away, and he kind of like is seeing her as a ghost, like one of those kind of shows, like, but like it's not scary. It's a little creepy, but it's a thriller. And he stumbles upon a child who is in need of help, and there is a connection between him and this child, but he doesn't know, and he's trying to uncover it. And it's just so good. And then what they did was, sorry, Billy Crystal, but they did like when they were younger. Now they do like that. Instead of getting like a younger actor to perform as them, they have like now like the CGI or whatever they like on the face to make them look younger.
With that weird like thing they did with like Indiana Jones.
Yes. So I was like, oh, I didn't remember Billy Crystal being this handsome, when he was younger. So they had little liberties there, but you know what? It was just, even that was well done, because sometimes it can look a little odd. It's a really, really good show. So I'm really excited to watch the last episode. I probably will do this after we're done recording.
Oh, I love that.
I
You're
highly
both
recommend
like, this
it.
is a couch day. This is definitely like hit the couch,
Yes.
get the meds, grab the box tissues. It's happening.
Yep.
I like that. I'm gonna check that out, because we love shrinking, and like you keep finding in the morning show, and I find like some of the Apple TV shows are actually really good. So like, I feel like I don't always look there for whatever reason. Like I don't know why, but I don't always associate it with browsing for some reason. Like I think of like Netflix and stuff, but like for that one, thank you. I'm gonna tell Rachel probably knows about it.
Yes, and actually I want to see shrinking.
Have you heard of Before on Apple TV? She says no. All right, cool.
Oh.
We got a show to watch.
Go check it out.
We get some live podcasting again. This is a very exciting time for podcasting for us. Someday when my basement is repaired, I'll have a place to record, not the kitchen. One of the things that I got I'm like a little. So when I feel like, I don't know, like I'm the kind of person that like when I get like gift cards or like whatever for my birthday or whatever the holidays, I sort of like store them up until I'm ready to get like the thing. And sometimes I don't know what the thing is yet until I want to get it. But I like saving up for something bigger. It feels more special. So one of the things that I had wanted to do, because I think like you mentioned reading a lot of books, and my wife reads a lot of books and stuff, is I find that like sometimes when I have my phone or my iPad, I feel like, number one, obviously, like, people have said like, that it's for your eyes at night, it's not so great, whatever. And like reading on like a paper type e-ink type screen, whatever, is a little bit better. I wanted to like just get some device or something that doesn't necessarily have all of the things that I want to play with in the Twitter feeds and stuff. And I want to like actually read a book. So I was always leaning towards a Kindle. After years ago having a Nook from like, God knows when. But one of the things that I really want to do was kind of explore this again. And because I have my iPad, I love it. But like for this at nighttime is probably, it's a good thing. So I was looking at the Kindle stuff, and I feel like I was very locked into that type of book. And one of the things I felt was always like a pain point with the Kindle was like, if you get a book from the library, there's always the extra step of like going on your phone and like accepting it and delivering it to Kindle and all this other stuff. And then my buddy Ian told me about the Kobo, and I'm like, Kobo, that's like leaving the world of Kindle. Can I do that? Will someone yell at me? So the idea is, what I love about it is like, I wanted to get something that I could read books from the library, mostly, and then some of the books I already have, whatever, but mostly the books from the library. And the nice thing about the Kobo is you could put the library stuff directly on it. So the nice thing is that you can browse from the Kobo device, and it'll go right from the library to the Kobo without actually having to go to your phone first and doing all the extra nonsense. And I think like taking that part away from the stress of it was nice. And the other part of it, which I like, is a Kobo Libra, or Libre, whatever you say it. It's color, which is cool, because I almost bought the Amazon Color Soft, and they actually stopped sending it out because they had some problems with it. And this thing looks really good, and it actually has color. So if you want to read like some graphic novels, because sometimes I like to geek out, and I'm really been into like, I wanted to like look at some graphic novel stuff, and sometimes like reading on black and white e-ink isn't so great. So some of these that have the color in it is kind of nice. And if you really want to go wild, actually you could use a stylus too if you want to write little notes on it, which is kind of cool. But I like it. I'm into it.
Does it? I'm looking at it right now. It looks reminiscent of the original Kindle. Remember, where it was like
with the buttons,
like the buttons, but like the matte finish to it, and then they like Is it like that? Like matte, like you don't have the reflective.
Sharp. Yeah, it's got the like. Sorry, I grab it. It's kind of like on the paper. You kind of look to it, and what's nice is it has an auto adjust brightness to it, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's got like you can see like it's got like color, which is wild to see on, and it's still e-ink. And like obviously if it's just the cover of the book, that's just more like, oh, that's cute, but like whatever. But like when it's actually books that actually have like little color maps or things like that or whatever else, or yes, all good fantasy books should have maps or put them down. So the idea is that it has something that you want to see, or you can read graphic novels or whatever else. It's nice, and it also has the buttons, which I like, because like my wife has the Oasis Kindle, and it has the buttons on it, and sometimes like, the buttons to advance the pages is actually nice, because sometimes the swiping thing could be a little annoying. And the cool thing is too, and I feel like I'm doing an infomercial. The nice thing is you could actually take it and tilt it sideways, and then the books will actually rotate. They'll actually rotate sideways so that you can read them kind of the long sideways way. So like if you were looking at if you're holding it, the wide way, the words format that way also, so it'll flip direction, which is kind of cool. So I like it. I'm gonna play around with it. It's gonna be my new toy. But I like it. So Kobo it is. And that is what we're doing. And if you also are curious, there are some wacky ways to get your Kindle books off their devices or off your computer and then transfer them over. I'm not going to talk about that here, but it can be done. Go on Reddit and they will tell you. Okay, so I think we're just about out of time on this episode. It's been another amazing morning of you and I pulling it together and making it happen, hanging out with Sara D. We talked about appreciation, how to write cards, how to get those kids to stand up and make eye contact and say thank you, how to leave those little gifts at people's doors, or take a moment to give a person a hug, or you say, hey, you know what? I'm not eating this food until you sit down. Hey, thanks for going out and getting that sushi that I don't eat, Dad. No problem, kiddo. So this is the episode that we took a moment to show appreciation, and that is okay. We want to take a moment to thank our listeners and supporters for donating to the show. If you want to help support the show so we can keep making episodes like this one, we have a link to donate in the show notes. And if you don't have the means to do so, we really do appreciate it, in acts of showing appreciation, when you tell your friends or family about this podcast so we can reach more listeners. Maybe we can learn from them and they can learn from us in our growing community. And if you get a chance, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We can't wait to explore this parenting thing again with you next week on Hey the Parents, because it's an honest discussion about raising kids. Don't forget to hug your kids and charge those Chromebooks. That's going to do it for me and for Sara. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Boys. Hey the Parents is produced by Mike Levine, Sara Desreens, and me, Michael Haidt. I edit and mix our show. Our intro voice recording was done by the one and only Coltrane. We appreciate you. If you like our show, we hope you'll consider going to the show notes and help support the podcast. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Yeah.